it out to like black people. There's so many two contenders for it. One of them was a husband and wife kind of situation, and the other one was like
Yeah.
It's like you're so smart.
Should do that.
Okay.
Yeah, warte mal. In Acta, it's so funny. You can come to Acta.
He has like
Everything looks like crap.
Yeah.
Then you go to his room and it's like the most like 2030 room ever.
Cash, bro. Not even
Literally
just cash.
Then you're in the wrong country.
I know, but yeah,
I love it. Entrepreneurship, how to make it as a creative artist, about magic frames, the platform, autonomy.
Okay. We start with like the in Holland.
I was actually modeling this weekend. That was fun.
Nice.
On like a runway.
Yeah.
I was so nervous that before.
Save that for the podcast.
You're the only one not recording, so you have to record and then continue that natural.
Alright, I'm recording now.
So
Are you also
it
recording?
was really funny because I was kind of like.
Should I also clap?
Can you do one clap?
Should I also clap?
Yeah, if you want. At this point.
Yeah, we all clap.
So my friend, she just graduated from the fashion academy, and she asked me to model in her the runway, and I've never done that before, and so I was like, of course, let's do it, but just get out of the comfort, right, and be awkward. But then before it actually happened, when we were dressing, I got so nervous that I was drinking a beer, because obviously that was our payment, alcohol. And so I was drinking a beer and I spilled it on the designer pants, and I was feeling so bad. But she really didn't give a fuck. And luckily the outfit was this kind of kimono, and then it was so large that it kind of hit the beer spills, so it didn't really matter in the end.
So how does that work? So you go do the fashion stuff, and then they have the clothes already there for you. It's did she buy the clothes? Did she make the clothes?
She made them.
She made them. Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of in Amphi, that's the fashion uni of Amsterdam. They always have to do a graduation project, and it's making an entire collection.
And then they have to show it on the runway, kind of thing.
Kind of, but when she graduated, there was COVID. Mm-hmm. Tessa, by the way, shout out to Tessa's graduation show. There was COVID, and so she couldn't showcase it. And then there was this event, kind of like a platform, but smaller. And they invited her, and then she did it. It was really cool. I liked it. Yeah.
Did she get paid for it?
In beer.
Okay. Unlimited beer, or was there a limit on the beer that you
get paid? It was 3 beers.
Okay, that's enough beers to do. That's the job.
Yeah.
You definitely got paid more beers for my event, Ed.
Your event, bro. The beers were nice.
They were amazing.
Yeah, I don't know what happened. I think we bought 100 tokens or something, and officially there were 80 people there, 1 token per person, but we were handing out tokens the whole night.
I had 5-6 tokens.
Yeah,
so
I think 3 or 4 for me as well. So I don't know what happened there, but yeah.
I love that.
For your event, it was so funny because the whole day you were so stressed. You were running around.
I was not even that stressed, man.
It's if you know him, you hear the change in his voice. He had his voice kind of went deeper with the inside of him, I don't know, something. And you're so stressed.
Do you mind scooting a bit more this way?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, man.
No problem.
All right.
Should we do the intro?
Do you want to do the intro on this one?
Again?
Yeah, you're the intro man now.
Welcome back to the Midnight Kebab Podcast. Another week, another podcast. Grab yourselves a kebab. Hopefully it's midnight by the time you're having this kebab as well, and you're enjoying this podcast. We'll try our best to upload it by midnight.
I kind of tried that last time, and then we got not as many views.
Okay.
So I don't know, man. I don't know.
What time, as an analytics kind of guy, what time is the best time to upload?
I actually struggle with that a lot, but I think I would imagine 6 p.m. around then, you know.
So the way you approach it usually is you look at your Instagram analytics, and then you see what time your followers are the most active.
Okay.
And then you post it in that time.
Smart.
Okay, we can do that. Because is there a section on YouTube that does that as well? Shows you at what time is the most views that you've had?
No, not from what I've seen, but I don't know.
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
YouTube.
Maybe we need to check that out. And
I've been pretty deep in the YouTube analytics.
Yeah.
But we it restricts how many data points you get depending on how many views you have, right? So the more views you have, the more things you can go in detail in.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right now we don't have that many views to check out all that stuff.
Yeah. But I did see that Netherlands I think is number 1, and then we have Italy number 2 or something. So
we're doing something, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, look, in the end, who cares how many people watch it? I think if 3 people see it and they have a good time with it, then you're already doing a good thing. You know?
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
not always about reaching thousands of people. Like in the end, I think, like they told us in the startup thing, Nicholas, right? Like if you create something and you create value for just one person in the world, that's already worth a lot, you know?
Yeah.
So
And that one person can be yourself, by the way. Doesn't
Of
even have to be
course.
somebody else.
of
Yeah.
You
course.
should be doing that stuff for yourself as well.
Yeah, I was talking a lot with my brother around like, you know, what is the value of art and like how art is losing value and like, is it worth doing? And he said something quite nice. He's a musician. He said, yeah, if you really think about it, art has no value. And that's not to like degrade art, but that's just to say to take that weight off your shoulders, you know. If you're doing it because you like it, then that's the only value it has, and it doesn't need more value than that, you know. So yeah. Who are you, Samin? If you want to introduce yourself.
I'm Samin. I'm from Austria originally.
I was gonna ask because I forgot to ask where you're from. It was bugging my head a bit. Yeah.
I grew up in the mountains.
Yeah.
And then I've been living here now for almost 3 years, 2.5 years in Amsterdam.
Cool.
I study together with Niloy.
Yep.
Nice.
Like innovation and entrepreneurship kind of.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. I have quite an extravagant lifestyle, I would say.
Right.
But also sometimes I chill a lot. It depends. But I love trying out things. I'm super curious about a lot of people, about passion. And so during my studies, I also started some projects on my own. Yeah, I'm just kind of a person who always wants to try something, always wants to do something new. What's hard for me is a bit to keep consistency.
Right.
But so that's me. And yeah, I live here in this student house with a lot of interesting people.
Yeah.
I like meeting different people from different bubbles, different scenes. So I was telling that yesterday with Jacob, one of our friends, had a conversation about like, it's funny because I feel like a lot of people, they only want to stay always within one scene, within one bubble, right? So, for example, there's this ACTA scene here. ACTA is the student house here with a lot of like very artsy, very expressive, queer people. And I love it, absolutely. Like, I absolutely love all these people. It's amazing, right? But I think if you always just stay within a certain mentality, within people that agree with you, you get a very tunneled vision. In the end, I would really like to have an impact on this world. I would really like to change things, maybe in a small scale, maybe in a large scale. I'm not sure yet. But I think if you want to help people and have an impact, you have to understand different mentalities and different mindsets, because our world, it consists of so much different people, right? And so even though, and different bubbles and different cultures, everything. And what I love is to just get completely out of my comfort, and also try to connect people from different scenes. So for example, even though I'm here in this quite like artsy and edgy scene, I also love, for example, I just started an internship at like this anarchistic tech company in a way, and
which we had on last time.
We had last week, yeah.
And that's completely different people, completely different mindset. But I find it so nice, you know, to just talk to them and see what kind of life they live. And then, so I think that's something quite special about me, I would say. What I'm proud of is that I can kind of connect and understand very different mentalities. And
Dope.
There is
That
kind of
helps.
like maybe an analogy that I want to drop in there that I heard like quite a long ago. It's like imagine yourself to be like a bit of a blank canvas. You are a blank canvas, and everyone's like a paintbrush, and everyone has like a different color. Every new person that you meet is a different color that you're adding onto your let's say blank canvas.
Yeah.
So it's in that way I'm kind of saying is like it's different stories that you hear from people, different experiences that you hear from people. You're not ever going to be able to do every single experience or see every single thing, but through those stories and through those experiences, you're kind of like painting yourself in these different colors and stories and experiences. So
I think so. And I think that's beautiful, and I think you should paint a very colorful canvas
Mm-hmm.
and not just a red one, because like in the end, we all have different stories, we all have different ideas about the world, and maybe we don't always agree with each other, right? But I think if you really wanna create meaningful things in this world, then you should try to learn as much as possible from all sorts of different people.
I like that.
So would you say you're a very open person in general, or?
I would say, but it depends. Not always, of course. Sometimes I'm also very insecure, right, and uncomfortable. But I try, at least, I think.
Yeah.
I've kind of known you since for almost 2.5 years, because we did the same course together for quite some time now. And I remember from the very beginning, after I first seen you, I was like, okay, this guy looks very artistic. He's like, he's very out there, skateboarder kind of vibes. I also got very hip hop vibes from you at the beginning. But now you're completely changing up a bit as well. Your style, you're going more punk, you're going a bit more,
Well, I gotta change a bit also.
No, of course. And I don't know how many projects you had in the beginning, but what made you start with all these projects, and what projects did you start with once you got here?
I kind of wanted to get into that as well, because you say extravagant, and then I think of somebody who grew up in the mountains of Austria, and that's not my first thought, right?
And then being from the mountains of Austria to then being almost like a punk rock
take
kind
us
of
through that
character
transition,
here
or
in
not
Amsterdam.
transition, but story a little bit.
My story.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm intrigued, man.
Well, I'm gonna make it a bit short because obviously there's a lot to talk. But so what happened when I was 18, and for me, Austria, I love Austria, especially the mountains, Innsbruck, where I'm from. But it always limited a bit my, like I said, this openness that I try to have. It's not that fundamental there. So in Austria, the mentality, especially in smaller towns, is more everyone on the same page, everyone with the same mentality. That mentality is a rather conservative one, I would say, which is go study, get a job, be successful, right? And for me, that was just never really myself that much. I couldn't express, when I have a new idea, for example, for a project or a startup or whatever. Here, in Amsterdam, which is, I think, a city that encourages entrepreneurship a lot. People are like, wow, yeah, that's cool, sick. In Austria, it's also some of my friends and some of my people are very encouraging. I'm very grateful for that, and also my family. But if I just would go to a random person and tell them that, then chances are high that they would be a bit like, isn't that risky? Do you really want to do that? And I just think you have to surround yourself with an environment that encourages process and where you want to go. So therefore I fucked off with 18. I was like, okay, I'm out of here. And I moved to Barcelona, actually.
Barcelona, okay.
You did a year in Barcelona, right?
More or less.
More or less, okay.
And that already changed me quite a lot because, big city, but also very free-spirited city, a lot of different cultures and mentalities. So I think from there came already this kind of more openness. Also started skating there, for example.
Okay.
Did you pick up any Spanish?
Not much, actually.
We're about to have a full conversation in Spanish. Okay.
Oops.
You know the tone of that question.
I'm not so good with languages.
No, all good, man, all good.
But what happened then was that I worked a very office job. First I did a pair, actually, but then I ran out of money and I had to do an office job. And that kind of it just it was so hard on me. It squeezed my soul, my entire being.
Office jobs can do that to some people,
I think it's completely fine if that's how you would like to work and live. And there's also a lot of nice parts of it.
For sure, yeah.
But for me, I just realized, wow, okay, if I live my life like this, I'm not gonna be happy.
Right.
And then what happened was that COVID hit, actually, and then I was lucky because a friend of me, he had a house in a little village on the beach. And so I kind of had 3 months, I could move there with him. 3 months of self-care, meditation in the forest, that was kind of the time in my life where I started to think what do I want to do?
That's crazy. The first day of COVID, I went with my friend as well. And we went to the coffee shop and then Albert Heijn and picked up like as much weed as we could, and, like some alcohol. We're like, oh, we're gonna party for 1 week.
Because you were here like the year that COVID happened in 2019,
like right when it hit.
And then I came the year after.
Yeah, but I'm happy that you were, soul searching instead, a little more productive.
You were weed searching.
Yeah, but that was different times. I was 19,
Like that.
But back then you probably didn't even smoke as much as you do now.
No, it was only because it was like, wait, hold up. I'm sorry. No, but it was mostly because we thought it was gonna be like a 2-week vacation, right? And we were like, oh, no school for 2 weeks is gonna be great. And I imagine that your thing was sort of similar in the sense that you thought, okay, this is gonna be a 3-month getaway. Yeah. And then it never ended, and I guess you had to move on, even though COVID didn't move on, right?
True, but like the first 3 months were amazing. Like I was living there with this dude. I barely knew him actually. We met like once in a club. Nice. He was like, just live here with me.
Oh my God,
Spanish people very often. But we became like best friends over those like 3 months. But it was really nice because I kind of also had so much time, and I got a bit in this like rabbit hole of like learning about like business and learning about the financial world and that. I had a bit of phase because I was so broke that I really wanted just to make money. And then I kind of realized that I'm not really happy with like the state, the things that control or shape this world.
Wow.
And so I was thinking, okay, if I want to have an impact, I used to be quite in anarchistic groups also, like protest groups. But I just realized that a lot of people have really great ideas and great passion for the world, but they are not really open to learn about the things that actually drive the wheel. So if you talk to like some of my friends who go to a lot of protests and are very activists, which I admire a lot, but then if you want to talk with them about, let's say, financial markets, it's immediately this like, no, this is evil. We don't want to talk about this, right? And so I always am an advocate of like saying, if you want to change a system, you have to understand it fully.
For sure.
Each system, like, I don't know if you look back in history, but each structure that was very powerful, they always failed from within. So if you want to, I think, change the world, you have to some extent understand technology, understand financial markets, understand business, the things that drive the wheel.
I just want to like touch on 2 things there. I think one is very interesting because I fully agree with you. And I think I kind of did that. I was like, okay, I don't like the system, but I'm going to find out exactly why and like why it's working this way. And then I just gave up because I was like, okay, I know why it works this way and I don't think we can change it, Yeah. And that's why I really admire Chris, who kind of shares a lot of my views, but still is trying to change it.
For sure.
With some actually really good ideas that might work. I'm still more pessimistic in that I don't think even his ideas are going to work, but he's saying that he'll give it 5 years and then he'll see, right?
Yeah.
And the other thing is a lot of people who do want genuine change also say, like that are kind of on your mentality, will also say you cannot change the system from within, because if you want to create a new system, you have to start from scratch, So I don't know what you think about that, but that's always something I found interesting. Is like a lot of the politicians, especially in America on the left, like when they get into power, they say they're going to change the system from within, but then the system ends up changing them,
Yeah.
And the system is kind of designed to do that as well,
To a certain extent, I'd also kind of add that like it has to do a lot with laziness as well.
Right.
Because our generation right now is like, we have a lot of activists, we have a lot of protesters, but when it actually comes down to getting something done, it's like, who's going to do that? We have so many very little people that actually want to get shit done properly because they don't have like either the time, the money, or like they don't have the enough passion to do so.
I think there's a lot of passion in our age and our generation, but also a lot of distraction, no?
Yeah.
Like we're constantly surrounded by pop culture, by our phones, social media,
and essentially becoming consumers more than producers.
Do you think that's done on purpose? Like that's done on purpose?
Yeah, of course. I think they've designed us to become more, consumers than producers.
Yeah.
And even when we do produce something at work, you're kind of in much more of a framework of a consumer still, right? that you're using so many like goods just to be able to produce an email, which isn't really production, you know? I don't know.
I think I don't like this idea that there's like a bunch of white man sitting on the table making these like designs, you know,
like this
but it's a lot like what Chris said, right?
Yeah.
And he's really putting the word on it, because I discuss this a lot with my family, because we've been discussing politics since forever, and we're both like on the same side of the spectrum, but then we differ in like, is this being done on purpose, or people genuinely evil at the top? And I think it's not that it's a room full of white men, you know, like, oh, we're gonna do this, that, and this.
It's a funny image.
Yeah. I think it's probably the Illuminati, bro. At this point. It's the only thing I can explain.
You and Mochi are both on that vibe, right?
No, bro, seriously, Mochi like fucking convinced me that the Illuminati is
I
real,
know, but
bro.
I don't think it's like.
You can go deep,
But they're all mechanisms of incentives that end up benefiting the same people, right?
Yeah.
So if you're at the top and you're like have to make a micro decision whether like this town or this group of people that work for you or whatever should act more like consumers or more like producers, you're gonna go for consumers, because that's gonna bring you in more chances for revenue, you know?
Yeah.
More things you can sell to them. And then like all of these micro choices like build up in a huge system, like on a global scale that we have now. And then that ends up with these systems where you're like wondering, this seems so like designed and on purpose that there must be like a group of white men at the top, you know? Like, that's
if
where
there
it
is,
goes.
then I have the utmost respect for them.
Oh my God.
Like, not that I like what they do, but like, damn,
there's
like
definitely,
designing this.
No, but surely it's like 2023. Surely they have like more the inclusivity, you know? Like surely they have like more people of
No,
color.
for
instead of
sure.
Just white men.
No, but you're for sure like that.
Maybe a white woman at this point. At least one in the office. There has to be one, right?
Yeah, no, but like for sure there are, let's say, like centers of power that are traceable, right? Like that have like, I don't know, 100 to 200 people, like let's say the oil industry or the weapons industry,
Of course.
and so on, and they all have kind of aligned their incentives as well, you know? So those are traceable, but it is the larger system that's kind of at play. They're not all being coordinated by one guy, I don't think, or like one group of people. Yeah.
I agree very much. And I also don't like this idea that people are evil in themselves. I don't think someone tries to do harm to the world. In the end, we all try to do the best we can.
I think people are evil.
Yeah?
And I think they try to
I
do
also
harm.
think there are people that are genuinely evil.
But like, think about it. Like, do you think Mark Zuckerberg, for example, if he would sit here now, do you think he believes that he's an evil man who's
that's
trying
the
to
thing. Of course
control
not.
the world?
But
Like, that's strange.
The thing is, because like I also kind of come from let's say Bangladesh, where like I've actually genuinely seen genuine evil people that like all they want is like the best for themselves and not the best for others.
I think people are narcissistic.
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah, and I think that like naturally leads to some evil things happening, you know? Like Mark Zuckerberg, he's not an evil guy. Like he would treat you well and he might be the nicest person to you personally, but he's gonna do all those evil things on a global scale just because he thinks it benefits him, right?
I think there's also just often it's very hard to draw the line between good and bad.
Yeah.
And I don't want to defend this kind of things or what happened, but like you said, I believe more that there's certain incentives in place, certain structures. I think often, for example, let's talk about billionaires, right? Or Zuckerberg. Of course, this guy runs Facebook, but how much does he actually has to say about Facebook, right? There's so much shareholders, there's so much investors in place that completely drive the big decisions. So I think even if he would be like, okay, let's change this, let's stop stealing data, all of these shareholders would be like, yeah, we're gonna take our money out and you're gonna go bankrupt, right? So in a way, I think that's more that the structure and, like you say, the incentives, these are maybe promote negative and bad behavior, but I don't think it's specific people that really want to do bad things, you know?
It's always a combination, because those systems were still put in place by somebody.
Yeah, I
and
guess.
those people like it is a sort of pyramid in a way, where the people at the top they have like ultimate power over some really big things, and then they design the systems underneath them so that they don't even have to do it personally, just so that the incentives are set up in a way that might benefit them, and those incentives benefit other people who are at the next level, you know?
Because there's always that someone that does put in that incentive, like gives us that incentive, and who is that? Is someone.
It's someone, and it's something that's taken hundreds of years to develop. These structures that we're kind of stuck in, but they were still developed by somebody, you know.
For sure, but I don't think with bad intentions necessarily.
Yeah, maybe,
Like-
maybe at the start it wasn't like intended to be bad.
I mean,
it just became that way.
Let's take Facebook, right? Like in itself, isn't it a beautiful innovation that you can connect with each other? We finally had kind of a tool where we can connect with the world, share our ideas, actually change things. The way that it fell down, I don't know, is then when all of these systems came in place, when all of these investors came in and they were pushing for money, for advertisement.
And Chris said it really nicely, pushing the machine faster than it's designed to go.
Exactly,
you know? Pushing
yeah.
it past its limit,
But
where everything just is one chaotic mess. Yeah.
I don't think that in the beginning it was designed to be what it is nowadays and that it was with this intention to do harm. I truly think in the beginning the concept was to bring people together, which is a quite admirable thing, right?
I mean, okay. So I'm really not trying to be annoying, but at the same time, like Mark Zuckerberg just wanted to get laid, you know. And that's why. So I think sometimes we overcomplicate these things so much, and we can just simplify it to people who are like, even if they're as smart as Mark Zuckerberg, you know, and as genius in code or whatever, still very simple, stupid monkeys, you know.
And for sure, we all primal animals in the core.
So he wanted to get laid, so he made this thing. Then he wanted to get some money, so he made it better and genuinely useful for the world, because otherwise it wouldn't have popped off.
Yeah.
And then once he got there, he's like, okay, now I'm gonna make it evil, right?
But also at the end of the day, it's like, you know, when you're trying to innovate on new things and you're trying to like make a new thing, at the end of the day, you're trying to make that new thing to make yourself some money. And I guess it goes.
I disagree with that. No, I do not like that statement at all.
I know, but I feel like there's genuinely very few people that make things for the sense of like being, let's say, for the value of society, or like doing it for altruism's sake. They do it more so for the sake of like making it big, making money.
And the people or areas where you tend to find people like that tend to be areas where money is not such a big part of people's lives. Mm-hmm. And they do something very small scale for like the community or the household of a few 10, 100 people, you know, like art, local art or something. But it's not really like, you don't start a company and spend 80 hours a week, you know, trying to get that afloat.
It's not to say that there isn't, but it's just from what I've seen, it's like there's fewer of actual altruistic people than people that like are innovating just to make money.
Yeah. Well, in that sense, I would like to continue a bit about what was my journey towards entrepreneurship, like, because I think it aligns in an interesting way with that. So yeah, when I was 18 and living in the forest, I was broke as fuck. And in the beginning, my really, let's say, ambition was to make money, you know, so that's why I started investing and like started to resell sneakers and doing shit like that, right? And I was good at it, like made bank. But but I was feeling over the last 2 or 3 years, what I really learned is that if you do something just for money and not for the passion and not to help people, it drains you. Mm-hmm. And so there is no real reward. It's not like fulfilling in the end. And so, for example, if I sold a sneaker for 700 euros in my head, and of course, like at first moment, I was like, hey, sick, let's go have a beer. But then
I would be jumping through the roof right now.
but then after that, you know, I was thinking, okay, did I actually create any value in here? I just had luck to get this for $100. Then I sold it to some random dude for $700. I didn't create anything. I didn't help anyone.
And that's that's currently the backbone of our whole society.
It's a zero-sum game, right?
Housing markets, like all sorts of markets are like that, you know.
But at the same time, I feel like it kind of did create value for the person that bought the shoe, because like, what if it's a shoe that they really wanted and they
could have gotten it for 100 instead of 700.
Yeah, like,
but they were willing to pay 700 for it.
No, but
because
I didn't
value it that much.
The only value that I created was for my pocket. Like there was.
No, I kind of feel like you also created value for like the other guy as well, not just your pocket.
I'm not so sure. But
at the end of the day, like you added a price tag on something that already had a way too big price tag on it because of branding, you know. Like the guy at the end of the day could have gotten some nice pair of shoes for like, I don't know, 1/100th of the price.
Yeah, that's very capitalistic of you.
You're defending as well.
So I had the taste, I would say. And but then I just realized over the last 2 years that, first of all, if you don't have genuine passion for something, it just doesn't feel fulfilling at all. And also you're not doing it well then, I think. Because what I always find, I think entrepreneurship, right? Like everyone in this world, I would say, maybe not in the world, but like in the first country here in the Netherlands, everyone could be like, okay, instead of working a 9 to 5, if I would work 40 hours a week on some project, I could make 5 times the amount, you know, like if you really sit down 40 hours a week and even learn drop shipping or some garbage, I'm sure you can make 10,000 a month. Everyone can do that, right? But the difficulty is to actually get that motivation to sit down 40 hours a week on your own without having a boss telling you that you...
And that's why all these kids listen to Andrew Tate nowadays.
Yeah, I guess, but like it's really hard to get that structure and motivation if you don't have someone telling you. And then the way that you get there is, or at least what I found for myself, is by doing something you love. Because now if I work on the platform, for example, I just made a website for them and I think it worked 40 hours on it in like the last 2 weeks. It didn't feel like work, you know, like I was chilling here with my music doing it. I wouldn't even say it was work. It was just fun, you know, and so then you can actually get that amount of work. And then I think in the long term, you're not just going to be much more fulfilled, but also much more successful.
Yeah. I kind of feel like I already have the answer to this question, but what is it that you love doing? Like what makes you kind of tick kind of thing? What is it that you're kind of trying to pursue right now? Is it more artistic? Is it something that, in what way are you trying to create value?
I love people who have passion, like for whatever, but like true passion for something. And I love to help people who are very passionate to pursue that and actually live from it. So one example where I find that a lot is artistic people, like you said, because I think often artists, whatever subgenre, if it's musicians, if it's fine art, if it's designers, whatever, they always have so much passion. You can see it, right? Like if I talk to them, like you can see it in the eyes. But then society as a whole and the structures we have, they don't really encourage that. You know, it's not very like likely that you can live from it to some extent. It's not very like, it's risky, right? To follow your passion. And so what I love to do is to create things, tools, maybe use technology, maybe use my own skills, my own network, whatever I can to kind of encourage these people, but also make it possible for them to actually pursue their dreams.
Nice.
So I think that is something, I thought about it a lot lately, what I actually would like to do. I think that is something that makes me really happy.
That's really cool, man. And I think I have something similar. I definitely get what you're talking about. For me, I would love to be able to do that in music, but I'm not quite there yet. I think I need to know a few things.
I also don't know what I'm doing, man.
Yeah.
Like, but it's a journey. We're all going through the journey. We're all learning, experiencing.
Yeah, it's fine, you know.
But that's kind of what I was trying to do with B3, but more on the entrepreneurship side and stuff like that. But yeah, I'd definitely like to like have a record label or something in that direction where I can elevate artists and stuff like that.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So that's really nice that you have that mission. Yeah.
Can I just kind of off topic, I guess, but like more on B3, like if I can give my opinion on it a little bit, was like when we talked about it on the podcast, I was kind of getting more the vibe of like you guys wanted to take it to have young people there trying to promote young people doing more their stuff, what they're passionate about, connecting young people to other resources. Yeah. But in that sense, I was a bit disappointed with the outcome of B3 because it was like mostly not young people that went there, you know?
No, for sure.
And it became very much more of a AI kind of thing with the blockchain and like the Web3.
No, I get you. So the idea there was, okay, we have this network and we need to, get some of them to come. But a big part of just like any entrepreneurship course or like a elevation hub is just education, you know.
Yeah.
And so we were lucky enough that we had these 3 amazing contacts. The Poser Party was the first ones that offered to do it with us. That we thought, okay, maybe we can put in like a really interesting panel here with like technology and music.
Yeah.
And then use that as like our launch pad once we got a bit of attention and also proof of concept for finding funding for the next thing or whatever it is, you know. But yeah, no, you're fully right. And that's also a disappointment that Cosmin and I felt from the beginning, is that in our generation or like when we go to conferences, we're always the youngest ones there. We always seem to be the youngest ones with a dream and like with a passion that we're pushing for. And there's a lot of older people like that. So obviously that's part of who we are as people, but why can't we seem to find a hub of young people doing that, you know? So that's what we wanted B3 to be. Yeah.
I think that's really admirable. But in the end, you also just gotta start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so maybe I think if you have an idea or like a project and you want to do something great, you have a certain vision, that's amazing, right? But things go wrong. It doesn't never go according to plan. So maybe a bunch of old dudes showed up. But fuck it, right? People showed up.
But that's not to say that
And
was,
so,
but that's not to say that like I felt that was bad. I thought it was pretty fucking amazing what you guys accomplished. It was like you
You're
had
gonna make me cry.
80 people show up. Like that's initiative already. You
I keep
started
saying 80
something.
by the way, but 10 is crew members, so technically 70. But still.
Transparency.
Mattis was 5 of those crew members.
And my mom was about it. But yeah, no, like by the way, update on the B3 thing. Like now we're trying to see if we can get funding for it through university and make it like an innovation hub for in Holland.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you guys already have that in Diemen, but we don't really have that in Haarlem. And we think like I've met so many people in Haarlem alone, and now also here in Diemen that could use that. That I think that would be a nice thing to have.
For sure.
Like, not to shit on in Holland, but like they do a really shit job at like advertising what it is that they have and what it is that they don't have. It's like even if
they do a great job at advertising and then terrible job at like
executing. Do be like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I don't know, where were we?
Innovation,
Spain, forest,
helping young people,
selling shoes,
not fulfilling by the capitalist system of just making money.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's just things I thought about lately. But in the end, I also acknowledge that you just need money to do cool shit. And that's also something a bit less maybe inspiring, but I just love to do cool shit.
Yeah.
You know, like random stuff, like creating stuff. I think that's amazing. So in that sense, I am very aware that I also need money for that. And so it's not something that I would ever disregard or say it's not important or it shouldn't be a focus of you. I'm just saying that the passion should have at least an equal amount of place within the priority.
So yeah, if we're prioritizing things, like you would put passion first, or
I think so.
Okay.
But I would definitely put money second.
Nice.
Because that is what I also see with a lot of people who only have passion, but zero of this like selling yourself,
I would
of
say,
money thing.
Yeah.
Then it doesn't work. And then in the end, what does your passion help you if you cannot pursue it because you cannot have a roof over your head, right? So I think you have to find a certain balance for these things and kind of figure out a way to get a middle way.
Like I'd definitely say in these last 2 years where I've been involved in a few things from the ground up and like talking to people who are involved in stuff from the ground up, like I think you're putting your finger on it that whether your goal is to make money or to make something cool, if you do passion first and then money second, that's a pretty good formula, right?
Yeah.
And what they mean by that specifically, it's like passion first. Let's take this podcast or B3 as an example. I have the passion for uniting people or for like talking about these topics. So we're going to make this podcast for free. In the case of Midnight Kebab, we literally lost money because of the camera and whatever. and then like B3, I just wanted to do this like event. So I did that also for free. And then step 2 is instantly like, okay, how can I monetize this now? You know, and that's when that comes in. But if you haven't done a product born out of passion to begin with, then you're going to have a hard time.
I think so. Yeah. And I also think if you are passionate, that's what I said before, right? Then it's much easier to work hard on it.
Yeah.
And so if, like I said, I think if you work let's take this podcast. If you would work 40 hours a week on it, then it's gonna be successful, you know.
I damn near work like 10, 15 hours a week on this shit, bro.
I work at least 20 hours a week on this shit.
I'm not saying that you have to do that now or anything.
I think you should. I think you should tell him right now that he should work 40 hours on this so we can get it off the ground.
No, I mean, you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah,
but then
yeah.
it will be successful. Like that, I can I think if you work on this for a year for 40 hours a week,
Oh yeah, no.
it's gonna be successful,
No, 'cause I
right?
genuinely think-
like
We have the talent, we have a few of the core skills that you need. We felt the water enough, and we're not scared of being in front of the camera anymore. So like we're already years ahead of many other people. Like
we're making
sure.
like tiny, small leaps and progresses every now and then.
like
but-
I'm like right now I'm at the point where like, because for a long time I was like, everything I'm doing is shit, like nothing turns out, you know. Right now I'm just that mentality of like, okay, if I can slowly upgrade things every year, that everything I'm doing a little bit better than the year before, then that's
but
the
then I
way.
must
You know?
also say, like, I do kind of really like the kind of direction that we're going with the podcast now, because we're doing it much more like interview style, where like every week we
Yeah.
try and have like someone new on the podcast to try and give a different perspective on
But-
life and stuff.
shout out.
Yeah.
Thank you, Samin, for being on it this
But
week
of
as well.
course, it's
But
nice.
at the same
you know?
time, like we've leveled up a little bit. We're doing things nicer, and we're getting like around 5 to 6 times more views this year than last year
Yeah.
per episode. But where we used to do like one a week when we started, we've only like since this whole year, which is now 5 months have passed, we've done like I think 4 episodes. You know.
Yeah.
So that at the same time, it's like
It's like the value's going up.
we have the
quality
formula.
of it.
We're getting better and better in it. But at some point, we need to put the
Yeah.
foot on the gas. You know.
Consistency, right?
Yeah.
Like I was like a entrepreneur that I learned quite a lot from is Hormozy. I don't know if you know him, but
No,
he has a podcast also about entrepreneurship. And he said if you consistently 6 months upload an episode every week,
Yeah.
then you are already more consistent and more productive than 90% of all podcasts, right?
Yeah.
So it's not that hard. 6 months, what is that? Like,
Yeah.
it's not that hard to get in the top 10%. And then through that, you already distinguish yourself.
Yeah.
And then, but what he also said is it took him 5 years to get 2 million views, you know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
so it's like people always have this image, okay, I start something, it has to work immediately,
Yeah.
like within 3 months I need to be YouTube
yeah.
star, but
And
like, it's not like
the
that,
only
you
way
know?
you're gonna go
Like-
through that period is if you're doing it for the passion first. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's also why I think that's so important, because then you go through the hard times. Like, and if you, I think, continue things, if you put work in, if you put love in, if you can motivate people and show them how much you love this, they're gonna help you also, right?
Yeah, for
Because like now what you said, I admire that. So I'm happy to be here
Yeah,
and
that's
talk
true,
to
that's
you
true,
about
yeah.
it, right?
In your house, by the way, this is all.
Yeah, exactly. It's my
Simon's-
crib. Like if you would just be like, yeah, so I just want to make money with this, then I would be like, like
Hey, bro,
okay.
you're like, yo, we're making 50 euros an episode. Like, help me, we'll give you 10. You know, like, yeah, no.
But when did you decide to move here, and why did you decide to come to Den Holland to study business innovation?
Yeah, so that back to my forest meditation time. By the way,
wanna
do you
go
guys
back
mind
there.
if I smoke on
No,
the
go
podcast?
ahead.
No, go on, man.
Okay.
Bro, I would love to be in the forest meditating right now, you know?
There's the bows right there, somewhere in the corner. In the
Yeah,
distance.
but I have work tomorrow. You know, that's the thing.
This is my ashtray now.
That's a nice ashtray.
Whoa,
Whoa.
that's dope.
The Goblet of Ashes.
The goblin?
You know the Goblet of Fire from Harry Potter?
Yeah.
It's the Goblet of Ashes.
Yeah. If you light your cigarette or other substances with a candle, does the wax get on it, and then do you get poisoned from it?
The what?
This is getting too technical.
I've always thought about this because
No, but if you're smoking in the first place, you're already smoking chemicals. So why
yeah.
the fuck would you care if you get wax in your lungs?
I don't
I
think-
feel like wax might be worse, right? But then again, it's also released in the air and we breathe it, so I guess it's not that bad.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
No, I've thought a lot about this, but yeah.
Right?
All right. Don't worry. What made me come to Amsterdam to study here?
Yeah.
Well, so I was in the forest. I was thinking about all of these structures in our world, about financial systems. I was thinking, how can I make a change, right? And so I realized, okay, what is the biggest power in our world? It's companies. So if I want to have an impact, a positive impact, hopefully, then I have to learn how to make a company, right? And so, well, then it was just really random. I just looked online, where can you study entrepreneurship? And then I found this course in Holland, which has its good and bad sides, but in the end, I'm quite happy I came here, yeah. So that was kind of what made me end up here. And then what I also realized, you can study all you want, I think, but if you have dreams that are very practical, then eventually you just have to take action, you know?
Yeah.
And so there's often this discussion about like entrepreneurship and should you even study or should you not just straight up go for it? And like, I always think in everything in life, there's a certain balance. So I was like, okay, of course I could just try and start companies, but I also want to study and kind of have this life. But there's also this, like, a lot of people are like, yeah, I want to start something, but first I have to study. So I'm going to now spend 4 years studying, and then after that, suddenly I'm going to start it and it's going to be successful, right? But I think the balance is to just do both. So fucking study and try to do your own shit.
And you kind of been doing that yourself throughout the years as well, where like first year, I don't know if you had anything going on. You kind of had that thing with Cyril going on, where like you...
Oh yeah, the silent disco.
Yeah. That was a long ass time.
Oh, that was also you, man?
Yeah.
Oh my god, I've been like touching up on your businesses since like day one. I just had no idea. Okay, you're the man behind everything.
The first thing was clothing.
Yeah.
I tried to make like customized clothes, but that was more of a hobby, I think. I just wanted to make some clothes for myself, and then people liked it, and so I started to sell it a bit. But then, yeah, true, me and Cyril, we started renting out silent disco equipment during COVID.
I never actually asked, but how did that go? Like, did it go well?
Like, we didn't really put that much effort in it in the end. But we kind of just made the money back for all of the equipment.
Okay.
So we rented it, I think, like 10, 15 times or something.
You know, I've never seen that. I never thought that would work out. And I never saw the appeal of it. And I never thought that, you know, it's fine if I don't like it. It doesn't have to be for me.
Oh, of course.
But I didn't think there was a market for it, you know, like a genuine demand. Until I went to the beach one day and there was like this bunch of like extremely white suburban, like overbeing Harlem type people. And they were all just dancing, not the beach, but like the lake beach, you know, like there by the lake, and they were all just dancing like crazy, you know. I don't know what they were listening to, but they were worked up. And like it was just like a dance get together with all with the silent disco, you know. And I was like, oh, here they are. Here they are. Yeah,
No,
these are
but
like
you also have to understand that like this was during like peak COVID, where like you weren't technically allowed to party, so you had to be quiet with the music and kind of stuff like that.
Right.
The market was because our parties got crashed by the police all the time. And so we were just like so we started, Cyril then rented silent disco to throw his birthday party, and then we're like, don't more people want to throw parties, and then we just bought it, you know.
Smart. That was when you also get pissed off at me for going out partying. Like,
yeah, I was pretty angry at you for that, man.
Yeah.
But
Oops.
Well, but
I'm not one for authority and laws, but at the same time, like when it makes sense, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a different discussion.
Yeah. Well, but that was just tapping out there, you know, and just trying things. Also, the clothes, like now looking back at it, I was like, what the fuck did I do? But it's nice to have that feeling of like starting something. It's nice if in the end your friends are usually gonna be your first customers, right? Yeah. And so it's also fucking cool to just have a friend who rocks your sweater and loves it and gives you some money for it, right? And so that was like my first project, I would say.
Yeah.
Which I then stopped though, because there was just not so much scalability to it. And also by doing it commercially, I kind of lost my love for making clothes.
Yeah.
So I just started to make it for myself again. And then what came then? Like I was we had this course, right, in class, Create Your Startup.
Yeah.
And
So there was a bit of a gap between the first and the second idea that you had, because in the first year I remember, so you had the silent disco, you had your own clothing, and the clothing you kind of carried it on onto your second year, where like I remember also buying a shirt from you at Cal's place, and then from that we moved right into Create Your Startup, which was when you, Kawa, was it also, who was it, Barry?
Yeah.
Some other people. And you guys started, what was it that you started?
Magic frames. So we had this, Barry had this idea actually that that kind of, because we take so much images nowadays on our phone, right? I think I have 12,000 images, that they kind of lose a bit its value. Because it's not as, like, if you think how photography used to be, like how much work came into actually making a picture when it was analog and you had to print it out in like a red room and stuff. Even though it's amazing, right, that I can just take endless pictures with this, but because there's this like oversaturation of it to an extent, it kind of is not that special anymore. And so he had the idea to kind of bring back a bit an old school technique to print out images, but still with a edge to it, right? And so we thought, because nowadays a very popular medium is also video, with TikTok blowing up and all of that, that it would be cool if we can kind of print movement. And so that's why we started. I can show, I don't know if you can see it, but you have like a certain movement in it.
Yeah.
And like, I don't know if you guys know this, but
Yeah.
So then we just thought it would be cool, to print out images of people. So then they send it to us and we print it. And we started that with school, but then continued it also. And it was just a nice experience to have a bit more professional startup, let's say, where there was actually more potential, there was scalability to an extent. And again, all of these things for me is just about learning as well, right? It's just about the process. That's why I'm saying, like, if you want to do entrepreneurship, but you study as well, I think a lot of things you can learn just by trying out. And with Magic Frames, for example, I had to learn how to make websites. I had to learn how to set up an online shop, how to do taxes, how to do social media marketing things, how to film products, how to reach out to influencers, right?
Yeah.
All of these things. Maybe Magic Frames will die, but all of these skills will come in handy with every project that I have in the future.
I have 2 questions on that, if you don't mind. How do you reach out to influencers?
Just on Instagram, like.
You just DM them, like, you see an influencer you like?
Like the way we did it. I think always when you want to make a connection with someone who has more to offer than you have, you have to do something for free for them. Right. So don't go there and be like, hey, I would like to work with you. How can I help you? No, go there with already having done the work. Right. So in our case, what we did was we already printed out one of their videos. And then we were just like, hey, we made some fan art for you. Can we send it to you? Then we send it to them just for free. And then through that, we had a nice connection, right? Because it kind of switched the dynamic from, hey, can you help me, to, hey, I made cool things for you.
I made something for you.
And then after that, then it was often that you have a follow-up conversation, right? Because of course, when you do something for someone, they're more likely to help you as well.
So you were not paying for influencers, but you were...
No.
But also at the same time, I really like that idea, because at the end of the day, even if they say no, you can just add that to your portfolio of things that you have done. So it's experience, it's also good for you. And also it works just better, not better, but it just works, because I've also seen examples of, like, let's say a lot of YouTubers that have, like, let's say Reddit. They go on Reddit and they have like all these fans that create this like amazing stuff for them. They create like ads for them, and if they see that ads that are like really nice, they'll go and reach out to them. So that is very much a really good idea of like just doing first and then like showing it off instead of like asking.
Yeah, for sure.
First, ask later.
I think so. And sometimes it's also just nice to do something cool for someone, right? So we only reached out to like me and Kawa, my partner, are both quite artsy, creative people. So we only reached out to people where we actually admired their work. And so making that like magic print for them felt good. It was not like, oh, I'm wasting my time and money here. It was like, oh, this is a cool person who does really cool things. So let's admire that and give them something nice. And maybe then something comes out of it, right?
Oh, who was it, by the way? Is it like, are you allowed to say?
Yeah, of course. So like, I don't know, we had like Mama Queen, which is like a drag model from the Netherlands, or candy makeup artist. We sent out some, which is like a full body makeup artist. But yeah, I also just started to make a lot of these prints for friends and artists who I like, who do cool things. Because that's also a thing. Like, I think I just love to make cool shit for people, and with people. Yeah. So it's not always about getting money out of it. Also, sometimes if you just admire someone's work and give them something, the smile, the glance in their eyes is also worth a lot already, I think.
Yeah. I mean, we shared a lot in Holland, but like this creator startup course that we had last year was actually sick. It taught me so much.
And we don't have that at ours. So just keep that in mind.
It's like they made magic frames, we sold beeswax. Which I mean, I guess in the end, they liked our pitch, but that's about all they liked, I guess. The business idea was there, it was nice, but
How do you pay taxes if you're making money?
Yeah, I had to figure that out. I hate it. I hope that's something that I'm not good at, bureaucracy. And so I hope with all of this crazy AI shit that someone creates an AI for taxes. Business idea. Create it. Create it.
But, like, actual genuine question, right? Because I understand the whole theory and like what you're supposed to do behind it. But who do you actually send this money to? Like, okay, you get registered. You got 100 euros in. Like, where do you send this money?
Oh, there's like, there's
The
like
last link is-
KVK websites.
Okay.
It's all in Dutch and all very unuser friendly.
Is it similar to paying like doing your tax returns and stuff?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Well, it's
Nice.
like they make it terribly hard for you to understand because it's all in Dutch. There's no option for you to translate it to English. So if you really need to do this, you need to either translate the whole page yourself or get like a Dutch person to do it with you. Or end of the day, you just get an accountant and get the accountant to do it for you.
And that's why the accountants lobby for those terrible systems.
Of course. But yeah, like, still nice to learn it, I think, even though I hate it.
Yeah.
But it's just all these things, that like maybe university doesn't teach you. And so, for example, in our class, a lot of people complain that like, we don't learn practical things. We don't learn how to do taxes, how to sell something online. And I'm just like, but then do it and learn it on your own. Like, we have enough time. That's also a thing. As a student, you have so much time.
But we also, through the Creator Startup course, not only did we learn that, of course it is difficult. We literally were out there in the field doing that stuff ourselves, doing the research, the market analysis, all that stuff. And then we also had like a bunch of groups just falling out by the end of it.
For sure.
It's like there's a lot of people just getting pissed off by the end, getting angry at each other. And like we also got a very real dynamic of how a team works in the workplace as well.
It's very hard to work with people, for sure.
It's like, Jesus, we had so many fights at our team.
It was really funny.
So that's why we need to start a company together, because we discuss like very hard sometimes, but it's never a fight.
Yeah.
And I don't think we're ever like, I think I can even count you in like already as somebody who I think I would never have an actual fight with. There's just those people you click with like that.
For sure.
And that's why you need to get busy with it, man.
I think always just also, that's also something I thought about a lot is, like I said, the most difficult part is really, if you work on your own, is to get those like 40 hours a week, maybe 80 down, right? And so some people are good at it. For me, it's a bit hard, right, to work just without someone telling me to. But then it's nice if you have a partner like Kawa. It just creates an incentive, right? So if it's like, okay, until Monday, I have to do 10 products. And if I would be on my own, maybe it would be hard. I would rather watch Netflix or something. But then I know I'm going to see Kawa on Monday, and I know he expected me to do this job. And so it's going to be annoying for me. It's going to feel bad if I go there and my work is not done.
Because now there's someone else able to hold you accountable for what it is that you have to do.
So I think to get that motivation and that like certain structure, work ethic, the first thing is passion, and the second thing is work with engaging people. And it's different, right? It's not like a boss. It's not like Kao is gonna be like,
No,
oh,
exactly.
like
I was gonna say,
you know.
for me, that person is Cosmin, and if I show up and I haven't done, let's say, those 10 prototypes or whatever it is you need to do, Cosmin doesn't get angry at me. He just goes and does it himself, or he figures out, okay, we'll do it for Wednesday, you know?
Yeah.
But just the fact that he's there and I know that he has the same passion and he really wants to move things forward is enough pressure on me, where like positive pressure, you know, not the one that your boss gives you, but like this pressure of, okay, no, let's do what I want to do, right? Let's get it done, because otherwise I'm also going to let down somebody else.
So you do have like the same goal. You don't want to disappoint the other person, because then you see
Same
that this
with
person
going to
actually,
the gym, you know, like if you go to the gym alone, you're going to quit earlier than if you go with a partner, and that's why they really recommend that in the beginning. So yeah.
But it's also not easy to find the right people to
Really
work
hard.
with. Like, because also in our age, especially, right, a lot of people just don't have that much drive.
Exactly.
And that's okay. I think that's completely fine. But
again, B3, that's where you'll find them.
but you just gotta find. So that's something I love, for example, about the platform, which is probably my most passionate project that I have right now.
Is that also like your most recent project that you've put your hands on, let's say?
It started about a year ago. Like the platform started 1.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And I joined like after the second event. So the platform does like, let's say, cultural art events. It's like a collective of creative people. And I was just there and I was thinking, so here in the building, there's so much creative people, so much amazing artists and things, but it struggles a bit to get out there, to get seen, to get a bit of structure in it. And then I was thinking that already, and then I went to the platform, and there was this event where there was talks, there was fashion, there was music, there was DJs, there was like photographers, there was designers, everything, right? But it all was done in a way where it was structured, super creative, and fun, also chill, but still like there was a structure to it. There was a certain professionalism. And so I just thought, okay, this is something that I would love to see here within my community. I always say, be the change you want to see in the world, you know? And so that's why I asked them if I can work with them. And yeah, super lovely people. Shout out to the platform. They are really amazing.
Is there like anyone in particular that you might want to shout out from the platform, or just everyone in general working there?
Yeah, I mean, we are like 5 people now.
Okay.
They're all amazing, equally.
So let's maybe discuss what is it that you do within the platform? What's your role in the platform?
Well, so it's a bit all over the place. But so we have a bit... The platform, if I would say what our model is or our vision, we discover creative people, talent, artists from different scenes and places and then connect them to an audience. And we have a bit different channels of doing that, like either in a physical event, because in Amsterdam, people love to party, right? So it's nice to kind of have that attraction, but you kind of bring people in, you make them hyped for the party, but then you also showcase all the art. So you kind of connect those two things that people love here. But we also have like online, of course, a presence where we showcase creatives. We have now a new initiative, which is the Platform Records, which is music specifically. So we kind of like a record label, kind of. And in the future, we're probably gonna do different channels and different sections. So what I do is, well, a bit of everything, but mostly like I help, of course, with like the whole business side of it. And how to make it actually successful. I like a bit also with the digitalization. So like I made the website and all of that.
Which, by the way, if I can add that, website looks pretty fucking sick.
Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, thanks. I'm like quite happy with it.
We'll link the websites and everything, like on the podcast, like in the...
Oh yeah, send me anything you want me to plug in.
But also production at the event itself. So setting up things, building up things, and also just, we all do a bit of everything, of course, but everyone has certain roles, of course. And it's an amazing team. I love the people.
Nice.
They're so talented. Like, I don't know. It's just always like, okay, we want to do something. We have no idea how to do it, but we're going to do it anyways. And then it works, and it works super well. And like, that's so cool. Like, I don't know, for example, a year ago, the first event that I worked with them on was skate punk. So we wanted to promote it, to do like a fresher kind of poster. Actually, I have it here. I can show
Yeah, I
it.
think I saw the poster before on the table.
And like we had this in our head, you know, but we were like, like we wanted to have the band there, like one of the punk bands playing, and then like also the skater jumping out, and then like we made this shot. Like, what the fuck?
Who took the shot, by the way?
Kelt.
Damn.
Shout out to Kelt.
Wait, let's show the camera for a sec.
And funny thing, because then my friends just gave me a fresher poster for my birthday, which is also cool. But I was thinking, actually, I think ours is sicker. It's, you know, it's that kind of made me think like, damn, you know, we rock.
Nice.
So that's kind of what I like, is if you set your mind to something, you don't really know how to do it maybe, but you bring in people who then you connect with people and you just do it, and then often it turns out much better than you expect, I think.
Nice, yeah. So would you say, let's say, comparing your journey from like the first, when you were there in Spain in the forest to where you are now, would you say you're progressing in kind of the direction that you were kind of hoping to progress in?
For sure.
Yeah.
Nice.
For sure.
And how have your ideas of what it means to start a company changed since your time in that forest until now?
Like what I said before, that passion should be priority. It wasn't always like that for me. Also, just this kind of attitude of just going for it. That is much like now, if I have an idea, I'm just gonna do it, you know. Like, I think often we overanalyze things. I know so many people who want to do amazing things, but they just talk and it never really happens. So that kind of mentality. Also collaboration. I used to think you have to do everything on your own. You have to, let's say you want to make an app, you have to learn how to program, how to market it, whatever. But it's not like that. I think if you think it's a great idea and you can also talk about that, then you're going to find people who can help you with it. And so it's sometimes a bit also of letting go of your ego and being okay with the fact that you cannot do everything. There's some things, I could not take this shot, you know. I could never take this shot. But
You never know.
maybe, yeah, true. But instead of like being sad about that, or like I can just find someone who is really great at it and then do it together. But what's really important in that sense is also sharing the credits, you know. I think that's why a lot of people don't really want to collaborate, because they want to own their work, you know, like I made this artwork, for example, right? And that's cool and all, and if you do, you deserve, of course, all the credits. But I think what's really important also, if you do something with someone, then give them credit and give them love and encourage it, you know, and like
You have to share the space.
Share the space, and also not be so, like a lot of people, if they want to start a company, they're like, oh, I want to have 100% of that, you know, like, but I have the mentality, if you have 10% of something great, it's so much better than having 100% of nothing. And so like, why don't you at least try it with other people? Maybe you don't earn that much money then, or as much thing, but you actually do it, right? And so that's, I think, something I learned a lot.
And also going back to that about being fulfilled and feeling like you're doing something not only for money but also for your soul. Like if you end up doing something huge and you only own 10% of it, you will still be a lot more fulfilled personally, right? Because you will have put in 100% effort, and you know that.
I think, and in the end, we are a community, right? We are social animals in a way. So working together with people and having kind of success together with people, I think feels so much better than just doing things on your own always.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's something I learned a lot. Also how important the visual aspect of something is. So for example, when I started making clothes, I had no idea of how to present it online, right? And I think we live in an age where it's really cool to some extent, because you can upload everything on social media and everywhere, and it has the potential to reach a lot of people. But also because it's so accessible, it's very saturated. So that's what I also said to you, right? Because you asked me about your friend, how he could organize events.
Yeah.
Like, you have to stand out visually. The branding needs to be, it's very important. So like this poster, right? Of course we could just, instead of spending an entire day and like asking a photographer and asking all these people, we could just make something on Canva and putting the information there. The information would be the same, but the emotion is so much different. So if people see this, they share it, they look at it, they actually read the text, and that creates so much more in the end, like, movement around your concepts and ideas.
So that's like maybe a tip for everyone out there listening as well. It's like, if you're gonna put out a product, you want to also put out your emotions that go with it,
for sure,
so that people can also perceive those
figure out
emotions.
how to frame that into one frame, right? Because this photo again is quite genius in that way.
I think, and also like just learning a bit of like graphic design or something like that. Like, it's really accessible nowadays, and I think it makes a big difference.
Maybe you don't personally yourself need to know how to do the graphic design. Maybe you can always find friends or people that do that for you.
Exactly, like I said, if you don't have to do everything yourselves, you can always work with someone, but just know that it's really important, I think. And that's something nice that I think I can say now, is like, if I have an idea, I know much more how to present it in also a format where it's attractive and where it fits current movements. But of course, still, it's a process. And also, big shout out to Pete from the platform. He taught me a lot about this, and I still don't know that much about it. But I think that's something that in the current age where we live, the digital age, is very fundamental to entrepreneurship. How to present things visually, but also emotionally, where it also reaches people and impresses them, you know?
So maybe let's go here. So after the platform, you joined the platform. Do you have any other projects that you started? Are you thinking of maybe starting other projects if you haven't? Or are you just going to stick with the platform?
Yeah, actually, maybe to end with also, because we're going a bit over time. But yeah, what's your future vision? What's the next exciting thing? You know, like what's coming?
Genuinely, that's also what you asked me before. Is like, what I would like to do in life. I love to connect people, like I said, give people an audience, encourage people. And I think that nowadays there's a lot of opportunity to use technology to do that. So in the grand scheme of things, what I would love to create with the platform, maybe also Magic Frames is going more in that direction where we collaborate with artists, and that is to create a digital platform in a way, an app, for example, where creative people can showcase their work, but also get booked, for example, if you're a DJ or a photographer, where brands can come and post jobs, for example. So kind of a bit of mix of like a bit of a like LinkedIn, but like for the creative scene, and also limited to an extent that not everyone can post things. You have to prove yourself a bit. You have to let your work speak for itself to some extent to get in also. That is something that I would like to create. I actually have a prototype of it I can show you. Yeah, for sure. But I don't know if you're going to see it on the screen.
If you record your screen, then you can send it to us.
For sure.
And then we put it on the screen.
So that is something that I find that I would love to create in the future. But also now starting my internship at Autonomy, that always also gives me a very different insight of how to do business, I would say, or like how to do things, because So Autonomy, to like give a little introduction, they are kind of like a social technology company. You can watch the last podcast if you want to hear more about it. But they are all non-profit, and everything they do is kind of with this vision of just helping people, right? And so I want to apply that more and more towards all my projects, and also help them for sure to create systems that help us protect our data, to help us to make decisions within systems, within society. This kind of like, I would say, my vague direction.
But keep the train going, man. I think you're going in the good direction overall.
For sure.
Even though it's not clear where exactly, but it's.
Well, I mean, you don't have to be 100% clear.
No, of
It
course
always
not.
changes.
I'm not 100% clear, bro.
Yeah, I think
exciting.
you're starting your journey. I think you're getting ready to jump.
Ish, yeah.
I'm really excited to see where you're gonna jump first. But
Multi-millionaire by next year.
I think you
Fuck
finally
yeah.
like taken it too hard and understood that you need to get out there. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These last couple podcasts have really drilled that shit into my head.
Really? Look, but isn't that the beauty of it? Though?
Yeah, it's like through the podcast, because like it's generally through the people that we met. Like Cosman was the start of it, and then we did one with Chris, and then we did one here today. It was like really need to do some shit.
For sure. Yeah, and I think in the end, just do it, man. And like, of course, I have this vision in my head of what I want to do, but I'm sure in 2 years it's gonna be completely different. That's amazing, right? Enjoy the fucking process. Enjoy
the
like
process
what you're
can actually
doing.
be fun. You know, the ups and downs and the emotions and all that.
Exactly, and it's always gonna change, and it's never gonna be exactly what you envision. But I think it's also about the small wins, and it's about the small losses. Also, what you learn a lot from, like you said, right? But just getting out there and just trying to make something, create something, is worth a lot.
So, Samin, how about now we end with, I remember you said that the platform had an event coming up.
Oh yeah, true.
When is it? What is it?
May
what can we
17th.
expect?
Yeah, so May 17th, we gonna do a movie screening with students from Rietveld, and it's gonna be quite an alternative movie in a cinema, and you can like get tickets, you can sign up, it's donation based, and then after the movie, like we're gonna have drinks together and then go to Garage Nord and have like a proper after party.
And you have contacts in Garage Nord that you can like rent that shit?
Yeah, with a residency there. So
nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I will definitely be hitting you up for more information on that.
for sure.
Yeah. Okay.
For sure.
Cool, man.
So that's upcoming 17th.
Nice.
Come, it's gonna be crazy.
And with that, should we end it with that?
Yeah, let's end it there. Thank you guys so much for listening. Shout out to Daniel. Shout out to Kelvin.
Kelvin, always. It's two people that we need to shout out always at the end of our podcasts.
Love you, Daniel. And Kelvin.
Daniel's amazing. Fuck Kelvin.
Fuck Kelvin, to be honest, though. But Daniel, we love Daniel on the podcast.
On the
And
real.
with that, we can end it.
Yeah.
See you next week.
See you next week, guys.
That was sick.
No, that was nice, man.
Shit. I was not expecting that. I was not expecting that.
Midnight Kebab. Midnight Kebab. Shout out. Hey. Let's go.
Nice. That was perfect.